Bullis, CPA, here in Carson City, once again with Toby Tatum, and we're continuing our series about talking about some concepts and ideas for preparing your business to sell. You know, it might be in a couple of years, it might be 10 years or longer, but sooner or later, you don't live forever. You're going to have to figure how to move your business to the next owner. It might be a family member, it might not, but you're not going to own it forever because you don't live forever. So you should be thinking at some point about preparing your business to sell. So we've talked about a lot of different concepts, and today we're going to talk about a word that about 100 years ago was a dirty word. It's called monopoly. And what it really means is that you have a unique grasp or control or hold on a market that nobody else can come in and compete with you on the level playing field. So it gives you an advantage. And actually for a business, you really want to try and move to a monopoly-oriented situation as much as possible because that's where you can maximize your profits. If you're in a business where you're selling just a commodity like a cheeseburger, it's really hard to have really high prices for your cheeseburger when all the other franchises out there, their price is lower. Customers won't come to you because they can go get the other cheeseburgers for a much lower price. So the broad number of competitors for the same product holds the price down, and there's very little profit for anybody when you're in the same market. Gas stations is another one. If you're selling gas and so is the guy down the street and the gal over here, you can't sell it for hardly any more than the other, maybe a few pennies more. That's not a lot of extra profit. So when you're in an industry where there is just a whole lot of competitors, there's not a lot of profit. But when you're in an industry where you have monopoly control, where you're like the only one or one of only a couple that provide this service or product, you have much more profit margin, and that's a good thing. You're in business to make a profit. So here's some examples of monopoly control versus being in a general group. You might be selling a product that there's a lot of people all selling the same one. But what can you do to customize what you do that the others don't? I've got a friend who has a gun store, and how does he compete with, you know, the large box stores that sell the same guns? Well, he does a customization of the finish on the guns that you can't get anywhere else. And he's got a line of people who come to him and are willing to pay a very nice profit to him for having those guns customized rather than just the same looking gun as everybody else. You can do the same thing with running shoes. There's a gazillion running shoes out there that all have basically the same functions. But if you're a store that sells running shoes, that you're also the expert on how to run, how to build up your muscles and not get shin splints, how to slowly build yourself up to where you can run long distances, and you actually have classes or group runs on a regular basis that start at your store. Well, if I'm looking for running shoes, I'm going to go to your store, and I'll even pay more to buy from you because you're going to help me to learn how to use those running shoes, whereas the box store, they're just selling me shoes. They don't care if I know how to use them or not. So you see what the monopoly control is all about is differentiating yourself, making you unique in the market that other competitors don't have that same strength as you. So, Toby, you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, Kelly, what I did is I brought a couple of books along just to introduce to the folks and then talk a little bit more. Two books that really changed the way that marketing was taught in colleges by a man by the name of Michael Porter, who came along in the late 80s, and he published two books that changed the whole concept of marketing. And you're talking about some of the concepts that he introduced. Michael Porter, and he published the book Competitive Advantage, and he also published the book Competitive Strategy. These are two must-have books in your library to understand and get a full, in-depth understanding of what we're talking about here. So what I want to do is build on what you've been saying with a thought. One of the key ideas presented in Michael Porter's book, and he said there's three basic ways that you can compete effectively and profitably in business. You can differentiate, which is what you're talking about, focus, and the third one is called low-cost producer or lowest cost producer. And each of those are ways to compete, to set yourself aside, and essentially become a monopoly of sorts in your community. I'll give you examples. Kelly just gave a good example of differentiation in the way that the individual fixed or took care of, painted the way he makes customized the guns.
Yeah.
But you can differentiate along a lot of different lines, not just the product itself. You can differentiate in your service. You can differentiate in your advertising. You can differentiate in the way that you train your employees. There are all kinds of different ways, different lines to differentiate, and they're not mutually exclusive. You can look at all of them. So differentiation is a way to make yourself unique within a larger market of selling guns, but he was unique in the way that he customized them. Mm-hmm. To give you some examples of differentiation that just come to the top of my mind, is you take, for example, Home Depot. I'm a big fan of Home Depot. I do a lot of home improvement stuff. And what Home Depot did to differentiate from the Lowe's, their other major competitor, is when you walked into a Home Depot and you asked, clerk, can you tell me where the such and such is? They say, well, come here, walk with me and I'll take you to it. That's differentiation. Now, does it last forever? No, because if it works, and it did work, then eventually the competitors are going to figure it out, and then you're going to have, so it's a never-ending process. The other one that is very effective is called focus, and that's to become really good at a very tiny portion of a market. And the best focuser that I can think of that comes off the top of my head right now is In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger is a focuser, and they have a reputation for making the best hamburgers there are, and I believe their menu only has like 3 items on it, and 3 different sized hamburgers.
Right.
And to the best, and they're always busy.
Yeah.
Always busy. To the best of my knowledge, they do not advertise.
Yeah,
they are so successful at focusing. So that's an example of focusing. Lowest cost producer is one of the most difficult ones to do, and that's where you have to capture a really large share of the market by being able to produce the product that you're selling to the customers at such a lower cost that you can underprice your competition. And the best at that comes to mind for me is Walmart. And Walmart is one of the most successful in the lowest cost producer niche. But so those are the options. You can differentiate, you can focus, you can be lowest cost producer. But in focus and in differentiation, don't think just in terms narrowly of the product.
Right.
Think in terms of the well, and also just the decor of your establishment.
Yeah. When you walk in the door, and the average store all looks the same,
Yeah.
and then you walk in the door of a store that's got
Shields.
It's like different. Yeah, Shields is a great.
How many sporting goods stores can you walk into that has a Ferris wheel in the middle of the operation?
Yeah, yeah.
And the stuffed animals and the artwork and the fish tanks and that's differentiation just in the decor of the building itself. So, and you can do all of these.
Yeah.
And so that's what you need to do, and it works. And that's Michael Porter's the one who brought that to the fore as the way to think about marketing and improving your business.
Well, obviously, to a buyer of a business, the more you have a monopoly over something, that you monopolize your business in some area, that you have a unique representation of a service or a product, that in the minds of the consumers in your area, they know immediately who you are and you're popular and they want to keep coming to that business. That is a plus to a buyer for your business.
Now, I could say, we'll go back again to my years of experience in the restaurant business. One of the things that I have learned subsequent to getting out of the restaurant business and becoming a business appraiser and business broker and visiting other businesses, I realize now something that I had done to differentiate extremely well. Now I'm aware of it, and that was in my employee training programs. We had an employee training program that was just far superior to anything that I see in small businesses today. And that's something that you could show a potential buyer.
Yep.
And of course, obviously, the other aspect of this is that you're more profitable
Yep.
in the meantime,
Yep.
which is
It's
also
a plus. You're making money until you sell the business to somebody else. And you're going to make more money when you sell the business because it makes it more valuable to a buyer. So there's another thought, monopoly. That's a good word for business, especially when you're getting ready to sell it. So we'll be talking to you again about some other thoughts later. Thanks for watching.